Alright, so we've got some plans going for this upcoming Sunday, our usual, Sunday Wargaming stream. And as you guys probably know, those streams are always unique. The games are always, we use the same game systems, obviously, more than once, but the maps are always new, the counters are usually new, the game pieces, and so on and so forth. The scenarios are definitely new. We never do the same thing twice. The downside of this is that we have to create a lot of maps. So today we're going to go ahead and try to create a little bit of a map. There we go. Cool. Here's our map. It's pretty much a blank sheet of green paper at the moment with some X's on it. Oh, hello, John Sowerby. Thanks for joining us on YouTube. So today we're going to try a virtual map creation stream. We may not finish the entire map here. And I've kind of went through this whole litany of excuses in previous streams, so I'm just going to go through it again super fast. The Photoshop license I use is on an old Windows 7 machine because I like actually owning my own software. I don't like this downloadable cloud subscription garbage. So it's an old computer. So if you hear a fan kick on in the background, I do apologize. It works fine for OBS. It works fine for Adobe Creative Suite. It does not work fine with both of them together. So if a fan kicks on in the background, I apologize for that. Also, you will not be, I don't think we're going to have a real, well, let me see before I naysay here. We may not get the tactile functionality of my Wacom stylus pad pen. Let's see here. Yep, we're not getting it. But no worries. I can draw without it. That goes away as soon as I hit stream or record. It works fine when OBS is not doing anything, but when I try to actually either record or stream with OBS, I lose the ability to have touch pressure sensitive functionality here in my Wacom pad. But no worries, I can execute the mission with a -1 modifier on my dice roll. It's all fine. I promise I can adapt and overcome, as the saying goes. Okay, so we are lined up to do a game of Sitrep Skirmish this Sunday, where we're going to be gaming with our friend Dylan over there in Queensland, Australia. And what we're looking at is, what I chose as a setting, is we're always trying to do stuff that's new. We don't want to do the same game over and over again. So we've done plenty of Arab Israeli Wars. There's more Arab Israeli Wars content coming out soon. No worries there. We've done plenty of Ukraine. Because we're gaming with somebody in Australia, I thought it would be fun to do another Australian-themed game. So we're doing elements of 4th Royal Australian Regiment Commando. This is part of their special forces, where they were engaged and involved with Operation Astute on the island of East Timor, or Timor, if I'm saying that right. In 2007. So East Timor, again, I'm gonna mispronounce that all day. Has been it's been a problem ever since Indonesia had to sort of cede part of it off in 1999. There's been a constant state of civil war and unrest ever since then, and this is right on Australia's northwestern doorstep. So Australians are always coming in and coming out of here trying to settle this down. It's not quite Vietnam, but it's close. It's a South Pacific, South Asian kind of a jungle environment, and that's what we're going to be building the map for here today. So enough talking, and let's get to work. And I'll be keeping an eye on both chats. So as you can see, I've got all my layers here over here on the right-hand side of my screen. I've got a couple background layers already set up. Background layer, green, jungle-ish, temperate background layer. More of a desert one underneath that. And I can change the color of my map pretty quickly. In fact, just for fun, let's go ahead and duplicate this. We certainly won't be using this today, but just for fun. There's another one of our background layers. Show you how easy this is once you get the once you kind of get the hang of it. Take out the desaturation, or take out the saturation, basically take out all the color. Okay, that's way too light. It almost looks like Iwo Jima now, but that's not what we're going for. And just for fun. One of these days, we might want to run a Arctic kind of a themed game. So let's see here. Crank up both brightness and contrast, and we get sort of an Arctic table. Now, some of these little pieces you see here are textures. So if I got rid of some of those, you know, as you can tell, they're mostly brown, and we don't really want that. But that's where we get like our pure driven snow kind of a table if we ever wanted to do an Arctic table. So we'll just go ahead and save that and keep it in our back pocket. Number one rule whenever you're designing anything in Photoshop or really any graphics software platform, save everything. Save everything at all times. Novus Templar, the glory days of HK Ops, great memories. Hello. Oh man, we got all kinds of people in the chat. Let's see here. Okay. Oh man, I gotta catch up on the chat here. Oh, John says we just looked into Astute. Interesting. Yeah. I just kind of ran across it this morning, to be perfectly honest. I know that the Australian military is often mixed up in, you know, low-level, non-kinetic military operations in the South Pacific. You know, right around their little neighborhood, obviously. And because we're going to be gaming with an Australian player on Sunday, I always try to. I mean, we don't always do it, but I usually try to throw in something that at least has something to do with the country that they're, or with the interests of the player, like we did. That West Bank on the Suez Canal with Dylan. Now, I'm sorry, with Damon last week. Now, Damon is not Australian. I mean, he's not Israeli by any means, but he has a huge fondness and depth of knowledge about the Arab-Israeli wars, particularly Yom Kippur. So, yeah, if Damon's on the chat, I'm going to try and hook him up with something that he's interested in. Yom Kippur, he definitely said yes, and this is what we're doing here with Dylan later on this week. So, wow, we got a lot of stuff going on here, especially in Mr. Twitch. Holy crap. So Jim decided to run a stream on Thursday. Yeah, cool. Since something kind of went off the rails on Wednesday, as it often does. Oh, Noah's Templar says, all right, it's time to watch the crafty cartographer create. Wow, I like your alliteration there, Mr. Noah's Templar. I like what you did there. It's kind of neat. You just started talking about tough political situation, the soft and tender music stats started. Yeah, we're going for a very mellow stream here today. Reminds me of the shitstorm where our HK Ops team went into Indonesia. Long live, a long time no HK Ops. Yeah, it has been a while. We might need to get that going one of these days again. Yeah, Novus Templar says, the glory days of HK Ops, great memories. Yeah, one of these days we'll have to get that going again. We can probably do that in Discord, because that go-to-meeting that we were doing before is no longer an option. And Skype, I don't know how well Skype would work. But Discord, our Sitrep Discord, might be a good time for that, if we ever get that going again. Okay, so anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and start drawing my map here. So the general idea I have for this weekend's game is a raid in one of the villages south of the capital of this country, where one of the main leaders was kind of hanging out. So from what I can tell, and again, I've literally only started reading about this, earlier this morning. There's been a whole bunch of successive wars and civil unrest, civil wars, or whatever you want to call them, in East Timor. I hope I'm saying that right. I'll have to look up how to say that before the stream on Sunday. Let me try and get a lighter shade here. Not that light. And the one that I'm looking at is the most recent one, because we'd like to do, you know, our modern warfare stuff. So, actually, let me go ahead and get rid of all that and start the road fresh. And apparently it started off where that whole army is really only like 2 battalions of guys. Like the whole army is less than 1,000 people. And there was a bit of a dispute or a problem with where the people from the west side of the country thought that they were being discriminated against, as opposed to the people on the east side of the country in the military. Like they were getting better pay, better training, better weapons. You know what? That's too thick. We're not trying to build huge roads here. And, you know, things like that. And half the army just walked away. Said, fine, if you're not going to, you know, address our concerns, we're just going to leave. They just straight up deserted. And then they opened fire on the rest of the army, stole a bunch of weapons, and it comes down to basically like this little social dispute. It seems kind of funny almost. And of course the Australians, as soon as they see, you know, this kind of unrest, again, East Timor, I'm just going to choose that as the pronunciation until someone corrects me. Yeah, as soon as the Australians see some kind of problem there in East Timor, that's right again on their south, on their northwestern, right off their northwestern coast, they re-intervene. So the Australians have been there 3 or 4 times, or at least 2 or 3 times since 1997, 1999. There's been a lot going on there. Now, normally I would be able to vary the intensity and the thickness of this line by just the pressure of my stylus pad, or the stylus pen on my pad. However, again, with Twitch being Twitch, or it's not Twitch, it's OBS. With OBS being OBS, does not like to play well with Photoshop. At least not my edition, which is kind of old. Okay, so what I'm kind of picturing here is, of course, north is always north, the top part of the map, and the capital of the country is off here to the northeast. And I kind of got into the background of the conflict there, the 2007 conflict, Operation Astute. It's because the one of the major police and army leaders that just basically deserted, basically just walked away from his barracks, boosted a bunch of trucks loaded with weapons and ammo, took a bunch of guys with him, and they just hauled ass out into the jungle. After, you know, looting and setting fire to a bunch of buildings and doing all the usual, you know, nonsense. They retreated to the mountainous part of the country just southwest of the capital. So again, that's going to be the road that leads northeast back to the city. So that's going to be where our Australian guys are going to be coming in from, and we're going to build our village kind of in this little area here. Again, if if OBS continues to cooperate. So one of the big things when it comes to Photoshop is the manipulation of layers. Once you get layers down and how to really make them work to your advantage, oof, that's too much. Oy. Hold on. Alright, give me a second. I'm going to create another background layer here, save the good one, and here's going to be my junky one that I'm going to kind of screw around with here. I'm trying to make like muddy tracks that these roads are kind of sitting in. Like obviously the green map here is all the undergrowth and so on. The road itself is going to be like a dirt track. So I want to sort of reflect that here in my map. So I'm going to get rid of my jungle panel there. Now we're down to our desert. The desert one was too bright though. I'm not looking for desert sand, I'm looking for like jungle mud. That red clayish mud that we see in Vietnam and a lot of these Southeast Asian countries. Let's see here. Brightness. We're going to knock that down quite a bit. contrast make a difference? That's too much. Yeah, let's see what that does. Make sure I have the right background layer selected. So what I'm doing here is with a feathered eraser, I'm erasing the green jungle undergrowth kind of layer and exposing the mud I have underneath it. And this way I can create, like, say if I wanted to, oh, say this farmer has like a little field here, you know, or there's a parking lot, or there's an abandoned lot, or when I start putting buildings down, I'll be able to very quickly, you know, set up little areas where the jungle undergrowth is not nearly as prevalent. Basically, I'll be able to mow the lawn. Alrighty, check out Mr. Chat here. Let's see. Dude, join the COVID age. Teams, baby. No to Teams. I deal with Teams enough. No, thank you. Discord works for my weekly D&D game. Yeah, we've done it with Darkstar a couple times. So far, Discord seems to be treating us okay. Not perfect. We were running Arab Israeli Wars with Piotr, and he was having a tough time with resolution. I don't know if that's an issue he was having. Like, he was having a hard time reading the hex numbers for a different Arab Israeli war game. But cool. Alright, now you can't have a jungle map without some kind of a stream or a river. Not a river, like a stream or a creek. So as soon as I find my water layer, I have all the special not the special colors, but the specific colors I like to use in my maps set up here on a palette. I literally just hit my eyedropper selection tool. This way I don't have to write down a bunch of hex numbers or CMYK numbers or RGB numbers, any kind of that nonsense. I literally just have it here. I hit select and the computer does the work for me. Now I'm going to go back to my paintbrush. I'm going to unfeather it. And again, here is where I really wish I had my, whatchamacallit feature. My variable pressure feature, but no worries. Something happens to it. Yeah, look at that. God damn it. You see how it's always a uniform thickness? Something happens to it when I go to OBS. I will have to do without. Okay, so when you're getting ready to draw your, guys, when you're getting ready to draw your rivers, you have to, or any kind of water obstacle on your wargaming maps, you kind of have to have planned out in your head ahead of time where your elevation is going to be, because obviously water always rolls downhill, and that's where it starts to get a little weird. So I know this is going to be kind of a weird way of drawing this, like an outline, and then filling it in later with the paint bucket tool. Again, I'm kind of stuck with the tools I got. Normally there would be a much easier way to do this. But again, I have to kind of 20%, 100% opacity. I'm going to kick that tolerance up to about 75. We want continuous. Alright, even that wasn't perfect, but I'll take it. Zoom in. Do a little bit of cleanup here. Yeah, you see that little vestigial line there? I don't like that. Unacceptable. Not up to the Oriskany standard. This would have taken a lot less time with the right pressure settings on my stylus pen, but that's okay. Gives me more time to talk with all my friends in the community. What's everybody up to hobby-wise? That doesn't involve annoying software compatibility issues. Yep, there goes the fan. Hopefully that doesn't get too annoying for you guys. Poor computer's starting to overheat. So I've got a bunch of buildings that I'm going to go ahead and slap on this map. Yeah, there's a problem right there. But oh no. Increase the hardness, reduce the size. Then we'll put some elevation on this map around the creek. But yeah, once I get some hillsides and some buildings on here, I've got a bunch of buildings already. You can't see them right now because I have them hidden, but I'm just gonna, yeah, they're stock buildings that I've been building up steadily over the last several, months and years. Again, you save everything because you'll use it again. I do want to build one more building. I don't know if we'll get to that tonight, but I do want to build at least one more stock building that is definitely more like jungle themed, like something you might see in Rambo 2, or one of the Missing in Action Chuck Norris shows, one of those buildings. And what is all that, I wonder? Huh. Is that part of the hex grid? I'm seeing a bunch of artifact debris there, and I don't know what the hell it's from. Let me see. Okay, I just vanished one of my windows here. Where do my tools go? Why? Alright, now here, here, here. No, I didn't ask for the background copy, dude. Oh, I know why. Hold on. Hex grid is locked. Unlock the hex grid so I can edit it, because I have a bad feeling this is on the hex grid. You guys see all this yellow Yep, it's on the hex grid. God damn it. Alright, I'm not going to spend too much time cleaning this up because who cares, but... Again, this is a hex grid I use over and over and over again. So whenever you get a chance to clean it up even at least a little bit, it helps. I'm going to not mess around with that for now. Relock it, put it back here, back on the water. I still have the right layer. I have the right layer selected. I still have the right color. So what do you guys think of, like, I don't know, this kind of stream or this kind of music? I know it's not our usual fare, but we try not to get boring. There are many kinds of hobby, especially in wargaming. There are definitely many kinds of wargaming. And I tend to gravitate toward the more, I don't want to say cerebral, but the more, I don't know, less cinematic stuff. When you try to make your historical wargame too cinematic, it comes out like an action movie, and then it gets insulting. I realize I just said I wanted buildings that you would see in a Missing in Action movie, or a Rambo 2. So, a little bit of hypocrisy there, on my part. Get rid of those annoying little... With a lot of our streams, at least what I'm going for is, not stuff that you're going to be sitting in front of, glued to the screen, munching on popcorn. Oh my God, this is so exciting. But the kind of stuff that either now or later on in YouTube, people might, be able to just kind of sit down, put in the background, while they paint or build. So making sure that the music is nice and mellow, trying to make sure that it's balanced correctly is kind of a thing. Because I have no illusions that this is the kind of thing that you put up on your big screen TV and just kind of, oh my god, I can't believe how he's drawing that river. What's going to happen? It's not that kind of stream. You'll notice where the creek kind of passes underneath my my road there. That's kind of intentional. There's not going to be an actual bridge there. That's going to be more of a ford or a washout, where big trucks and jeeps kind of splash through this little muddy creek. In general, though, when I'm drawing these maps, I am a big fan of partial transparencies. So you'll notice that, you'll notice that nothing on my maps is 100% opaque, and that's kind of a poor man's way of tying the map together. The map always seems to be like one image. It's a trick of the eye, because what I don't want it to look like is what it actually is, a series of separate images stacked on top of each other. That's exactly what I don't want, even though that's exactly what it is. Alright, I'm still on my water layer. So in case people aren't terribly familiar with Photoshop, what it allows you to do is basically stack up a series of layers. So this is not one image, what you're looking at here. This is over here to the right, you see a whole bunch of individual files. They're not exactly files, they could be files, but these are all layers. And most of them you can't see, they're still invisible, but they're in there, and they're all saved. And they're all separate, they're all movable, they're all individually editable, and what that allows you to do is to really get in here and draw, some specific kind of effects. Transparencies, glows, layer effects, textures, filters. Oh, this would be so easy if I had the right settings on my tool, but that's alright. We'll do this one much faster than the other one. Come on, keep up. So actually, no. I want the stream or the creek to kind of shallow out as that road passes over it. So it's going to be nice and thick. Damn it! Come on. Until it gets close to that road. Then it's going to get narrow, and then it's going to kind of bulge back out again. So even though you don't have the right pressure sensitivity settings on this thing, you can always kind of fake it. It just takes a little bit more time. And you fake it by going back with your eraser and shaving down where you want your variable thickness in your different lines. There's always a way. It just comes down to time and convenience. So if all goes well, you guys will see this map in action on Sunday. We'll see if Dylan's Royal Australian Commandos hold up against my crazy renegade former military. I guess they're just deserters, mutineers. They don't in the source material. They don't exactly call them insurgents. I mean, they are, unfortunately for Dylan, they are trained soldiers. They're just not very good soldiers. So I'm being a little less careful on this one because, again, you guys don't want to see me pixel by pixel draw this. If I want to go back later, I can go back later and make sure it's super clean, but it's like any other kind of paintbrush. If you get yeah, you see how it's doing that? Damn it, that's really annoying. It's like any other kind of paintbrush. The bigger the brush, the faster you get done, but the sloppier it tends to be. Physical brush, virtual brush, it's all the same. Okay, so that leaves us now with two basic kind of jungle streams, and now we're going to build some hilltop terrain around the streams, making sure that our streams, of course, remain in valleys. Let's see here. Oh man, we got lots of stuff going on here in Mr. Chat. Holy crap. So in YouTube, John says East Timor, I'm hoping I'm saying that right, has seen a number of interventions by Australians since independence from Indonesia. That's another whole kettle of fish. Yeah, I found that out the hard way this morning. I went for the most recent one I could sort of come up with, that I could get like decent amount of information on. That looked like it had a big enough amount of combat to facilitate and support the context for a good wargame. Now, the game we're playing, of course, is Sitrep Skirmish. It's probably going to be 6 to 8 Australian operators, individual Australian operators, versus maybe 20 renegades. So it's not exactly the Battle of Gettysburg. It's not going to be this huge thing, but that's the point of Sitrep Skirmish. John also says, I got an 18mm Napoleonic game at the club on Saturday. Awesome. Actions in and around La Haye Saint at Waterloo. Boy, you're not kidding around. La Haye Saint. That was a bit of a shitstorm for sure. I think there's room for both cinematic and crunchy wargaming, says John, as long as you know what you're getting into at the start. Absolutely. It's just what I tend to enjoy myself personally. I hope I didn't sound like I was making any kind of a judgment about anyone else's kind of gaming. It's rather zen, says the stream. Good deal. It'll certainly whip the paints out once I've had dinner. Awesome. Yeah, this one's not going to go terribly long, guys. I doubt I'll finish this whole map in one go. But, yeah. Hello. I can only watch for a few minutes, says Ben Johnson. Ben, welcome to the stream. I have to host a Zoom meeting at 8 o'clock. All right, well, you're about ready to... looks like you got about 18 minutes left at the time of this reading. Rasmus says, John, I agree when it comes to type of games. You can even do comedy ones once you know what it's supposed to be. Yeah, absolutely. As long as everyone agrees on the right kind of tone. Now, for those kind of games, when I'm running those kind of games, I don't put that much work into them. Everyone knows going in that it's going to be more of a lighthearted game. We put on some buildings on the table, we put on some trees, and we just have fun from there. Oh man, here we go. Here in Mr. YouTube. Nothing is perfect online, says Rasmus. That's absolutely true. Rasmus has also been printing and researching World War I naval stuff. If you guys are not members of our Discord, yeah, check out our Discord. Rasmus has been putting up some pretty good stuff. Even some pre-World War I stuff, like almost some pre-Dreadnought stuff. Old armored cruisers from like before 1906, it sounds like. Oh, no big deal, just a slight hum. Yeah, it's gonna come and go as my computer cools off and heats up. Again, I apologize for that. Only you would notice that dot when it was zoomed back out. Well, I gotta make it right the way I want it to. Sorry, guys. What is a Wyoming because science teacher? Okay, so Erasmus says he's got 4 Wyomings painted and more or less printed and more or less ready to go. Did they actually build 4 battleships in the Wyoming class? a lot of those earlier World War I and pre-World War I American battleship classes were only 2 ships strong. So I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah. It's because Science Teacher asks what is a Wyoming. I think we're talking about a Wyoming class battleship. Rasmus says he enjoys it. Music does seem to get lost in the background noise around here. That's no worries. I'm still working on 1 to 35th scale dioramas from HK Ops Desert Eagles. Oh man, you gotta show that in our Discord, man. Novus Templar, when you get when that comes to a good stopping point or a progress point, or even when it's finished. I'm trying to think of some of the stuff that happened. Desert Eagles, man, that was huge. Desert Eagles, that went for 4 6-hour sessions. That was a 24-hour role-playing session where we basically burned down half of Syria. Except not really. We had dungeon crawling in that, so to speak. We had a tank battle, sort of. We had all kinds of infantry battles, electronic warfare. That one ran the gamut, seriously. We even had a little bit of romance. Oh. Oh yeah, there it is. Rasmus is answering because Science Teacher. It's a U.S. battleship dreadnought design from the first part of the 20th century. Rasmus says the music, it's my fault for sitting in the living room, but socializing with the family is needed once in a while. Cool. Yeah, no worries because Science Teacher, I'm watching both channels. I appreciate it. Rasmus says OTT Spring Cleaning is building a World War I U.S. Navy. That's going to be awesome. No, they had only built 2, but 4... Oh. They only built 2. But I guess you got 4 with slight issue with some of the prints. Gotcha. Cool. Alright. I think we're all caught up with the chat. Let's go ahead and keep things going here. Alright, so let's just let's build some mountains super fast. Believe it or not, that's one of the easier parts. So I have an elevation layer built into my my file here. It's actually already visible. You probably can't see it. It's this little spot right here. There's a tiny little hill. That's literally it. So I save a tiny. Ooh, I'm sorry about that pop. I save just a tiny little crumb of whatever layer it is when I save my templates over and over and over again. And then what I use for that is, or what's the word I'm looking for here? Later on, when I come back to it, I have the layer effects saved. So elevation, you'll see it's got layer effects, drop shadow, stroke. That's a little tiny little outline you can probably barely see. But that's kind of what I'm looking at there. So how are we going to do this? Again, go to our eyedropper tool, pick up one of our colors that we like. Make sure that we are on the elevation layer. So whatever layer you select here is the layer that you're actually going to be painting on. I want to be painting on the elevation layer. So right now it's just this tiny little thing down here in the corner. We're going to add a lot to it in just a second. And this is kind of a rough... I'll go back and I'll clean up this contour line later. That did not work at all. My hills are radioactive, apparently. Alright. It's a little better. Make sure that you're not causing your streams to climb up any hillsides. It's okay if your roads climb up hillsides. They do have roads for that. However, even that you should be careful because roads that climb up steep hillsides usually have switchbacks. They approach or attack hillsides at a certain angle. It looks weird if you aren't careful with how you do it. And even if you are going to have a road go straight up a hillside, or I should say even, leaving all that other stuff out of the equation, when engineers can help it, they don't have hills go up roads. Sorry, they don't have roads go up hills. So this is a pretty mountainous country, so I'm going to add quite a bit of elevation in here. So there's two ways you can do it. You can either just scribble it in, or you can go ahead and use the paint tool, the paint bucket tool. I tend not to use the paint bucket tool when I can help it, because it never completely matches up with your existing graphic, and you wind up with these tiny little, it's almost like a mold line in a model. These tiny little join lines. And you can't see it at this scale, but if there happens to be a counter there or a miniature there later on in your game, and you zoom in super hard to see the actual combat in action in your war game on stream, of course that's when you see it, and you're like, oh god. Oh, see, I'm on the wrong layer. Don't ever do that. Don't ever paint on the wrong layer. Now again, this is for HK Ops. Sorry, this is for Sitrep Skirmish, where the give me 1 second here, guys. Give me a little spec there. Layer, image, select, inverse. I'm basically creating a second hill layer here. This is for Sitrep Skirmish, where the what's the word I'm looking for? The fidelity of the hex lines matters a lot less. It doesn't really matter. Sitrep Skirmish is a very, very terrain-friendly game. In other words, it doesn't really matter if, this hillside, is hex echo 3, is that a elevation 2 or elevation 3, Here the terrain is much more decorative. It's really just to kind of help tell the story. There's not a lot of game mechanics. When the game mechanics become a thing, like for a Panzer Leader or a Valor Victory map or something like that, you got to pay attention. The map cannot be just kind of slapped together. Like a lot of these hexes would be kind of illegal. So as you're drawing the map, like Bob Ross might say, you almost have to sort of tell the story ahead, tell the story ahead of time in advance in your head. That way you can put in like interesting points on the map. Like, I like the idea of, like, as the Australians are coming down this road, the jungle hillside right next to them is almost like a sheer cliff. So let's make these contour lines nice and tall, or nice and close. That way they have that ominous cliffside kind of looming over them, where the insurgents might have, God knows who, snipers, and so on. We're going to create a new layer. Elevation 3. Notice it's not doing the same thing as before. That's okay. I select elevation layer 2, copy layer style, go to elevation layer 3, paste layer style, and boom, I now have a third layer of hills. And again, I want to build up that cliffside. No real purpose, I just think it would look cool. I'm trying to picture this battlefield in my head. What would make cool, like, cinematic moments. I know I just said I don't like cinematic gaming. Guys, just ignore half of what I say. I don't usually know what I'm talking about. concept for elevation. I think we got plenty of elevation. It is a very mountainous country. Alright, now let's go to the next thing, which is... we're going to need some trees. I'm actually kind of surprised this many people came out for a Thursday night stream. I super appreciate it, guys. Looking forward to Sunday's game, says Ben Johnson. Good night, everyone. Ben, take it easy. I'll talk to you soon. Metagaming released a game, this is John, says that... oh man, hold on. I have to back up a little bit here. Okay, so Springtime has joined us. Again, thanks everybody for coming out on Thursday. I super appreciate this. I know it's not our normal day or our normal time. So Springtime says, how long until a war game about a battle on the moon? As the USMC team is for all of mankind. Maybe a USMC fire team versus a Soviet KGB fire team in 1983, but on the moon. Springtime, about 20 years ago, I was trying to write some novels, and I took a semi-serious stab at a novel, what mankind's first war on Mars would be like. I said it like in the year 2103 or something like that. Very, very small, very, very colonial. And the reason I mentioned is because I did develop the beginnings of a war game for it as well, called Task Force Ares. So it's not exactly historical, but it's like science fiction, or at least it tried to be, where it was like, I can't remember what the powers were. It was obviously the United States, some kind of European Union, and then some sort of Pan-Asian League or Pan-Asian Union, a lot like we have in Darkstar, where it's basically a whole bunch of, it's basically China and all the states that China's been dominating over the past century. And those are the three main powers. And then some corporates in there too, because you always got to have bad guy corporates in a sci-fi game. And yeah, we had vehicles, we had a hex grid. I even have some of the old maps for it somewhere. It was interesting terrain. You just take all this and make it red. Sort of. In fact, it might look a little like that. It looks vaguely Martian. Just get rid of those stream beds there. Well, make the stream beds, but just have them not be streams. Have them be like dried out ancient riverbeds. That could almost be Mars. But we had rules for dust storms and all kinds of stuff. We never really played it that much, but who knows? Maybe one of these days we can have something sort of like that here on Sitrep Podcast. Again, it's not really historical, in all honesty and fairness. But what was I going to say? I'm trying to calm down the saturation on the screen. Every time I look at it, I think it's too... I don't want to do that. That might look a little bit better. Oof. Except now my hills are totally the wrong color compared to my base layer. All right, I'll come back to that layer. I'm gonna damp down that green a little bit. Speaking of green, let's build some trees. So again, I'm gonna go to my palette. Trees are always a two-type brush, a double brush. So I get both kind of greens that I want in here. Make that a little bit lighter. Not that light, don't get carried away. And again, this is going to be weird because I don't have my pressure ability. Make sure that I am on trees. Where are my trees? Trees layer. Alright, wish me luck. That's not so bad. Oof. Yeah, I miss my, oh man. And now somehow it is letting me do that. Look at that. It is so weird. It's letting me have different amounts of pressure on this brush, but not on my other one. Like, see these tiny little dots I'm putting in here for my trees? The outskirts of my little tree areas? Huh. Whatever. So I like big, chunky, sort of irregular tree lines. So I guess to answer the question, John, I've never really tried a war game on the moon, but I have taken, funny you should say this, I have taken a semi-serious stab of wargaming on Mars. And I'm not talking about like Mars Attacks kind of thing. I'm talking about like, okay, 100 years from now, major countries are going to have colonies on Mars. You know what's going to happen. Sooner or later, someone's going to do something stupid. And we're going to have our first war on another planet. It's going to happen. On the surface of Mars. What is that going to look like? Let's take a look at how the terrain conditions and the environmental conditions on Mars really are, and how would that affect the equipment and vehicles that you could build, the weapons that you could build. Like, how do guns work? They really don't, because there's not enough oxygen in the atmosphere to facilitate the combustion required to fire a cartridge. So, yeah, little things like that. There are certain kinds of gunpowder and cartridges that carry their own oxygenating, or whatever the word is. I'm not a chemist, obviously. They can fire almost without their own oxygen. What kind of propulsion would work? Helicopters. Yeah, we did just launch a helicopter-type drone over Mars, like literally earlier this week. At the same time, that thing is not exactly carrying a big missile payload. It's going to be very, very hard to operate combat helicopters, anything like a hovercraft or any kind of propeller-driven or impeller-driven sort of a craft in Mars's atmosphere, being it's like 1.5% the density of Earth's. And if you don't think atmospheric pressure is a big deal when you're trying to fly a helicopter, ask the Russian pilots who tried to fly Heinz in Afghanistan. Yeah, it's a thing. Trust me. So, yeah, we've sort of taken a weird poke at it. Although, again, it's been like 20 years. So John says, yep, trees, back to Bob Ross. That's true. That's true. $85 million cost for a 2-foot drone. Yeah, that sounds good. Task Force Ares, baby. Yeah, there was no trees in that one. Okay, let me get back to the chat here. We have Rasmus says, my OTT spring cleaning is building a World War I U.S. Navy. Cool, we got that. If I printed them with the turrets on, the guns go flopsy. Oh, that's not good. So, Rasmus, are you painting are you painting the turrets separately? Printing, I should say. Printing the turrets separately, I'm assuming. Yeah, Task Force Ares. It wasn't the best game. We only played it a couple times. Or I only played it a couple times. It's fine. A lot of big wheeled vehicles. Well, what else was a big problem? Materials. There's not really a lot of metal up there. And there definitely is no petroleum products up there. So forget any kind of plastics or forget any kind of rubber. So how do you build vehicles up there without those materials? One of the main sources I had for that, he's not a military writer at all, but a guy by the name of Robert Zubrin wrote the Mars Direct program, which of course, NASA has resolutely ignored. But it was basically like, look, we could get to Mars, we could put a manned colony on Mars, like right now, using the same 1960s technology that we had for the Apollo program. We don't really need anything bigger than a Saturn V, and those are, we've had those for God knows how long. Alright, I don't want to go too crazy with the trees here, because number one, it's getting boring as hell. And number two, I want to leave some room for my... I want to leave some time for my... room for my buildings. I do have some buildings I want to put on here. And we've been up for almost an hour. So again, this wasn't going to be a super long stream, guys. We're just kind of... again, things do happen, and it's not always in our control. But you know, events conspired where we weren't able to really do a stream for you guys yesterday. So just wanted to hop on real fast and make sure that you knew we didn't forget about you. We always try to stream on Wednesdays and Sundays, at least. Everything after that is separate. I should say a special or extra, but we definitely want to get at least those 2 days. One or two more small batches of trees here, and then we'll call it on trees, at least for now. We can always add more. Always add more. See, I don't like that straight line. So anyway, about Robert Zubrin's plan to go to Mars, it was about, you know, you're going to have to build everything there, because there's no way in hell you're going to load up a transport ship full of stuff that you build on Earth and hump it all the way halfway across the solar system out to, you know, a 6-month journey at least, depending on the technology of the ships that you're kind of inventing for your little sci-fi world. Probably more. You don't just fly straight to Mars. Obviously, you have to sort of change lanes in the orbits, if that makes any sense. Yeah, getting to Mars is no joke. And the cost that they're talking about, I can't remember what it is, like how many hundreds of thousands of dollars per kilogram. So the last thing you're going to do is build a fleet of tanks on Earth, load them up on transport ships, and fly them out there, you know, Battlestar Galactica style. That's just not how it's going to work. You're going to have to build whatever it is you're going to build on Mars with what you find on Mars, including the fuel. You have to make your own water. You have to make your own fuel, your own building materials, your own metals, and so basically, how are you going to build an army with what's available on the planet? These are the kind of things that the writing was sort of trying to address a little. How successful it was is, well, up to you. No, I don't. What the hell, dude? Oh, that's a texture. Okay, get rid of that. Clean up this yard. Look at all this garbage. No. Damn it. I'm trying to get rid of these little piles of trash here. There we go. Now this hex is an objective hex. I'm going to go ahead and hide that for now. Just basically turn it back into a normal hex. I have no idea where the objectives are going to be yet, but I'm sure we can get back to that. These are special palm layers that are going to be used later. I'm going to go ahead and hide those for now. I may not even ever use those on this particular map. But for now, I'm definitely just going to set them off to the side. Alright, let's actually start building some... Oh, there's some more. What is that, a road? That's part of the road. There we go. Alright, let me get a drink here. That road is way too garish. Come on. What? Oh yeah. I must have hit cancel. Very annoying. And the outline is a little overdone. Pattern overlay, stroke, outer glow, outer glow. So we are going to dummy that, not dummy it down, but dampen it down. I hope. What the hell? You know what I can do? I can always do this. Reduce the opacity. That lightness doesn't play around, does it? Every little change on the meter there really makes a big... Alright, I think that looks a little bit better. Alright, so we've got some basic trees in there for now. We've got some basic water obstacles in there for now. We've got a hell of a lot of elevation. Let me throw in a few buildings here. Now again, luckily I kind of have my buildings already made. Let's just reveal a few of them. And again, I'll probably get to this later because I don't want to, bore you guys all night. But hold on, let me see what I got here. Yeah, those are just too small. They look good, they're just too small. Let me think about, hold on. Let me see how much of this I can get away with. How much can I expand these without ruining them? Because as you expand anything, unless it's a vector graphic, which these are definitely not, in case we have any graphics experts out there, definitely not a vector object or anything like that. They're just regular, PNG type objects. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and expand these. I want to make these buildings a little bit bigger. These are a little bit more, they look a little bit more simple, but they are more thematically appropriate with what I'm trying to do here. I have my ratio lock key indicated there, so they're going to maintain their proper aspect ratio. Now, how bad did that get on their resolution? You know what? That's fine. I don't think those look too bad. Even after I expanded them, I don't think they lost too much of their integrity. They still look pretty sharp. Oh god, the neighbor's outside walking his dog. So if you hear an annoying little yap out there, it's my neighbor's, I don't know what the hell it is. It's like a little, Jen, what kind of dog is that? Is that like a little Chihuahua? Miss Thing next door. World's most annoying dog. So what I'm going to do is I'm just basically going to stick these buildings around. It's being really slow. Again, because I'm running OBS as well as Photoshop, neither of which are small pieces of software. But it's all okay. I'm actually really happy with the way those jungle buildings. I thought I was gonna lose a lot of integrity when I expanded those like that. I grabbed my road. My road layer. Oh boy. I have a much smaller, ooh, make that hard. Ooh, I'm still on my double brush. I don't want that for my trees. Uh-oh, that didn't work. Damn it. Alright, let's see if it works this time. Come on, there you go. So it's a little too dark. I'm trying to match the original road layer. Now, in case anyone asks, that's close but no cigar. I'm not able to simply eyedropper tool onto the existing road and just grab it that way. Because this road hex has, this road layer has a surface pattern laid over top of it, and that's throwing off the hexanumeral or whatever, the color selection tool, the color selection functionality in my eyedropper tool. Basically, I'm just going to be drawing in a few slight lanes, not lanes, sort of trails that sort of lead off the main road. And don't cross the stream. Don't ever cross the streams, man. I'm basically trying to make this look more like a village. I'll have to add a few more buildings a little bit later. Alright, now I go back down here to my basic layer. Maximum feather. Pump up the size a little bit. It's probably a little too much. That's really noticeable. Well, there's no problem with the clarity on that map, that's for sure. Oof, good grief. That looks a little too straight. Nothing in the jungle is straight. Put some switchbacks in here again as the road climbs that hill. It might be a little that looks a little weird. It might be a little realistic to actually have a little bit of a switchback pattern. Without it looking too uniform. Where's Mr. Road? Find Mr. Road. I still have the right layer selected. Back to the paintbrush tool. Let's actually put the road in here now. Come on, tool, stop doing that. Ugh. Alrighty, I'm not entirely sure I'm in love with the roads. I think the roads look way too, what's the word? Definitely too pronounced, too garish, too, holy crap, yes, there's a road there. So I'm going to tinker with that a little bit later. I'm not going to waste a lot more time on it now. So these brushes, a lot of these brushes are brushes that I have preset settings that I like, and that's how I get my trees done so quickly. He said I have like the perfect, not perfect, but my preferred settings for exactly how much of the primary color versus how much of the secondary color, how it behaves normally, again, when I have my pressure sensitivity attribute or whatever functionality actually working correctly on my stylus pad, which it works fine. It just doesn't like to play when OBS is streaming. It works fine when OBS is running, just not when it records and not when it is actually streaming, obviously. So this is a little bit more tedious than is normally the case. Normally I can do this a lot quicker. I'm going to try something here. That's too... Whoa, that's the opposite problem. Okay. Oh, because of the layers. Oh, God. Okay, I see what's going on. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to give up the ghost on using that tool to... Yeah, I'm going to have to give up the ghost on that. It's not going to work. No worries, that's why you save a backup. So I have a backup background layer. And now the roads. Yeah, that whole trick I was trying, where I'm going to partially erase the top layer and expose the bottom layer for like that muddy shoulder kind of a look, it was not working for a number of reasons. I could fiddle around with the layer, with the color of my undercut layer of my base layer as much as I wanted to. It was going to get thrown off anyway whenever the road interacted with an elevation hex or with an elevation layer, because again, that's another layer. I would have to make those same changes to all those layers, and no, I'm not going through all that. I will do it completely with different layer effects in the road layer itself, which is probably the way I should have been doing it in the first place. Alright, so I got my road layer selected, I hope. There it is. Hue and saturation. Yes. We are going to hopefully resaturate this road, because I kind of ruined the saturation on it. Is it going to let me do it? Not really. I don't blame it, because I screwed it up. That's okay, there's a way around that. Variations. More red, more red, more red. I probably overdid it. Kind of overdid it, but that's okay. I can now knock down the saturation again. Now that I've added some saturation that I can manipulate. The problem with saturation in Photoshop is that once you reduce the saturation past a certain point, you can no longer change the color because you've removed all the color. When you're changing hues in Photoshop, all you're doing is manipulating the color that's there. If you're already down to almost grayscale on either an image or an object or a layer, there's nothing to manipulate. So you have to dump a bunch of color into it, even if it's too much, like I did with these roads. But that's okay, because at least now you've got something you can work with. Like now I can change the roads. Purple roads, pink roads, blue roads, they almost look like my streams. Green roads. None of this makes sense. Alright, those look like muddy jungle trails. Cool. We're getting there. quick building program here in our little town. Look at that, poof, more buildings. More affordable housing for our loyal subjects here in East Timor. I hope I'm saying that right. Timor? I think it's Timor. I'm going to have to look that up for sure before we stream on Sunday. Yeah, I wanted to put some buildings there in the north so that this northern road made sense. Alright guys, and again, we're not entirely done here, but we're getting close. Where we have an actual settlement. We have a road leading northeast back toward the capital of this country. We have plenty of buildings. I might reduce the opacity of that hex grid a little bit, just so it's not quite so overpowering. Here you have to kind of walk a fine line between what looks good on the map and what works for your player. Because again, I'm going to be playing this with a guy in Australia who's going to be looking at this on his computer screen, and he's going to have to be able to read these numbers. So I don't want to reduce it too much. But for now, that looks a little bit better. And I'll play around with some more effects. I have a whole bunch of textures that I took off of this. Nope, that's not it. Where are my textures? Oh, here they are. So I would just reveal some of my textures here. You see where that starts to put, like, you know, some more interesting textures on the certain parts of the map. So I'm gonna mess around with this, guys, and make it look a little bit more presentable. But again, for now, this is kind of where we're at. I'm also probably going to add a few more buildings down here in the south, because right now, if he comes in from the northeast, and the objectives are probably going to be like a hostage or a high-value target or somebody in one of these hooches, the whole battle is going to take place right here. I want to use more of the map, so I'm probably going to take like one of these buildings and stick it down here, like this little fishing hut. At least make him work for it a little bit. Something like that. That way, at least he has to diametrically cross more of the map to, you know, have a good game. Cool. So, yeah, but are they happy, little trees? Says Because Science Teacher. All my trees are happy until they get hit by a napalm or a Willy Pete strike. Then they're not so happy anymore. Melee on the Mon. We've done that too, to the max. Melee on the Mon. Because Science Teacher, I am missing something there. I am missing yep, a long-haired Chihuahua. I'm not sure what Melee on the Mon is. Oh, Moon. We have done that too, to the max. When have we done any kind of wargaming on the Moon, John? The closest thing I can think of is, check the YouTube. I'm lost. We've done Darkstar over the Moon on like the what was it? The 50th anniversary of the moon landings. We had a little game. If that's what you're talking about. Melee on the Moon. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Sorry. Okay, over here on YouTube, we're also looking at Kim Stanley Robinson's Red, Blue, Green Mars series. Goes into how do you make stuff on Mars question extensively. Awesome. Don't forget the Yakinto game release called, I believe, Marine 2002. Okay, Bernard, definitely appreciate that. Red Mars is the best of the trilogy, but you should definitely read all of them. Agreed. My only fear is that the company terraforming Mars is called Wayland Yutani. Don't trust them, especially if a company rep is named Burke is in charge. Well, here's the good news. You can't terraform Mars. Sorry, but from what I understand by no means an astrophysicist, but all this talk about terraforming Mars kind of flies out the window almost immediately. At least depending on what your definition of terraforming is. Giving Mars an atmosphere that is breathable around the entire globe just doesn't work. The math doesn't add up, the energy that's required doesn't add up. And even if you could do it, Mars would lose it almost immediately, because what you have to give Mars first is a magnetic sphere. In order to do that, you have to give Mars a spinning metal core. So until you can do that, which you can't, the whole idea of terraforming Mars is going to be questionable at best. Again, depending on what you mean by terraforming. I'm not familiar with the novels you guys are talking about, so I might be kind of off. But yeah, until you can provide Mars with some kind of protection from the solar wind, you're never really going to put a real atmosphere on Mars. And without any atmosphere, and ergo atmospheric pressure, you're never going to have liquid water. At least not out in the open. Now, of course, you could build gigantic geodesic domes and have, God knows, you can have whatever you want in there. But as far as turning Mars into a second Earth, the more you look into the actual science of it, the more shaky it looks. And that, from what I understand, it comes down to that whole complete lack of a magnetic field. And with no magnetic field, everything else kind of flies out the window, literally. Yeah, no magnetic field, says because science teacher. Yeah. So again, until you can put a spinning metal core inside of Mars, which you cannot do, you'd have to literally rebuild the entire planet. That's just not going to happen. Unless you could create some sort of artificial magnetic field. I don't even know how between heaven and hell you would ever do that. You'd almost need like Kardashev 2 levels of power to do that. Or build some sort of a Dyson swarm, not so much around the sun, but like maybe right over Mars, so that Mars has like artificial protection from solar wind. I don't know how you would do it, but it's not as simple. You can't just dump air on Mars and hope it sticks. It won't work. I don't care how much air you think you have. It's as soon as you dump it on there, it's going to be lost almost as quickly, because it has no protection. We've all seen Arnold in Total Recall. Well, now that we've got the hardcore science version of the story on there, yes, Rasmus, I appreciate it. We've all seen Arnold in Total Recall. Yeah, so even if you had that happen in Total Recall, that atmosphere would last about 20 minutes. Never mind the gravity, never mind however much air you have available, any kind of pressure. The solar wind would strip it off almost immediately, which is probably what happened to Mars in the first place. All the I don't want to say all the evidence suggests that there was a lot of running water on Mars at one point. That's probably what happened to it. Once Mars loses its atmosphere, the boiling point of water radically changes. The boiling point of water on Mars is like 270 degrees below zero Fahrenheit, because that's how little pressure there is. Water, of course, boils at different pressures, at different temperatures, depending on the pressure. The lower the pressure, the lower the temperature of the boiling point is. Right now, you could pour water on Mars right now and it would immediately burst into steam. Well, not even really steam, straight into water vapor. Because, again, there's no pressure. And you need an atmosphere for pressure. But none of that has anything to do with our map here. Our map is at least 50% done, if not more. It's definitely laid out. I kind of like where everything is. I'm just going to tinker around with some of the effects. I don't like that green. That green is way too intense. I'm going to knock down that green a little bit. I'm going to play around with some of my textures that I have kind of pre-saved here, so that I can come back and, I'm moving the whole mountain. I didn't want to move the mountain. I wanted to move the stupid... Hold on. Go back where you were, please. Thank you. I was trying to move the texture. There we go. Yeah, so you see where these textures are separate things. So I might make these a little bit more green so they don't look quite so brown. Again, I'm going to dummy down the green so that maybe it'll be a closer match to that brown. Those textures were originally designed for desert maps. But you put these like underneath and around buildings so they don't look so stupid just sitting there in the middle of the grass. It's like, oh, that's like an actual building. And all the kind of dead ground that would be around a building, from people walking around and, vehicles driving up and down, things like that. And it just starts to make it look a little bit more realistic. Like already, that's starting to look a little bit more like a realistic town in a grassy field. The buildings right around, or the huts, the hooches, whatever you want to call it, you know, the grass right around them would all be dead. You know, stomped on, walked on, just probably grazing animals, you know, eating all the grass. Dogs, kids, cats, chickens, poodles, tons of people, tractors, buildings, vehicles, you know. So, yeah, you just throw a lot of these textures on there, and who knows? Maybe it starts to kind of clean up, or just make it look a little bit nicer. Oh no. Yeah, I'm gonna have to play around with it. Cool. Just put a lid on the canyon. That's kind of what we did in Task Force Ares. It wasn't the main canyon, Valles Marineris, if I'm saying that right. It was one of the offshoots, and yeah, they basically just sealed off both ends and built an airtight. I can't remember what the hell I used, but it was probably something similar to the books you guys were talking about. You mine stuff out of the ground and you make some sort of semi-transparent, sort of a graphite out of it. You know, bake it together, roll it into sheets, and kind of put it up there with whatever structural support you're able to use. You know, it just depends on your technology. I mean, there's definitely material on Mars that you can build things with. But, cool. All right, guys. Hopefully, this stream was at least somewhat entertaining. Again, we were just trying to make up for, you know, we do apologize that we weren't able to stream for you guys last night. Nothing's amiss. It was just one of those nights when, you know, life kind of piled up all at once. No big deal. So we just wanted to make it up to you guys tonight. So, yeah, here's our map. It's mostly done, maybe halfway done. It's going to be 100% finished, obviously, before Sunday's game. We're also going to have some SAS, well, not really SAS, Royal Australian Regiment Commando. Figures ready to go, some Timorese renegades or insurgents. And we're going to have a nice little game of Sitrep Skirmish. Very light game, very stream friendly. Right about on the border between where a war game starts to turn into an RPG. It's that low on the scale as far as size of the units. Individual units, individual men, individual weapons, individual skill levels. So it's right on the border between wargame and RPG, I feel. Cool. So yeah, for now we're going to go ahead and shut things down. We've been up for about an hour and a half. Again, everybody super appreciate it. And we hope to see everybody on Sunday when we actually put this map to good use, we hope, with a nice war game on Sunday. We will be accommodating Queensland time zones, so we will be starting a little late. I think we're going for 5 p.m. on Sunday Eastern Time. So 5 p.m. Sunday Eastern Time. Hopefully that's not too late for everybody. That's 7 a.m. on the morning his time. So he's accommodating us by getting up at 7 in the morning to chuck dice with us on a Monday, no less. And we're going to accommodate him a little bit by pushing back our time on the stream. So yeah, it's going to be 5 p.m. On Sunday is what we're aiming at. So we hope to see some of you guys there. In the meantime, this is Oriskany Jim for Sitrep Podcast. Thanks very much, as always, for all your support. Again, thanks so much for coming out, especially today. I wasn't expecting much of an audience at all, to be frank, because it was a weird time. It was a weird day. It wasn't exactly, thrilling, dice-chucking hobby action here. But hey, even a digital map, you have to build the map sooner or later. You know, hobby is hobby. You have to make it before you can play with it. So, all right, guys. Thanks again. Everybody on YouTube, everybody on Twitch. Super appreciate it as always. Take care, and if I don't see you before Sunday, I'll see some of you on Sunday for sure. Take care, everybody, and have the great rest of your week. So long, everybody.